All-Around Joe podcast, where we optimize your human performance from my personal experience as an athlete, coach, and all-around self-improvement junkie. On this edition of the All-Around Joe podcast, I'm going to be talking about how you should be tracking everything. All right, and this was inspired by an Instagram TV video that I did a while back, and then a good friend, David Reef, saying that he liked the information, and that was a little bit of back and forth onto me doing this podcast where I'm talking about just that subject of all of the things that I track and all of the things that I wish that I could track for those companies that are listening, and then all of the things that I think that are important and how to put them together the best that we can. So just so you have an idea of how my mind works after doing all of this tracking for so long, everything that I am doing, meaning like walking down the street, eating food, whatever, I'm always thinking about if I do this, then what's going to happen, like the cause and effect of everything. And I think that just comes from thinking about all the different things that I'm tracking. So an example of that would be like the person who's sitting in the McDonald's drive-through line in order to get themselves a quarter pounder with cheese. Are they thinking about what that quarter pounder is going to be doing to them after they eat it? I don't necessarily think that they are. So we're going to get into why I think about these things and how I think that everyone else can do a little bit of better job of thinking about them as well. And I'm going to give you all the tools that I use in this podcast so that you can use them, and hopefully we can all become better people because of it. Because why not, right? Before we get started, I wanted to mention my partners on the podcast and let you guys know that if you are going to be using any of these partners, it totally helps out the show. It's how I get paid for the show. I go and I create relationships with these partners with companies that I really like to use myself. I would never, ever not do that. And then what I would do is create some sort of a relationship where they give me a code to share with you so that you get a discount, and when you use that discount code, then I make a little bit of money on it. So that's completely how it works. That's why I have these partners on the podcast, if you were ever wondering, and you will almost always get something better than what you would have if you just went to their site. In fact, I would hope that it's always. All right, so I want to be completely transparent with that. The first company that I want to talk about that I'm partnered with is Inside Tracker. Now, Inside Tracker is a company that I've been using for a few years now. They essentially help you to optimize your body, and I'm actually going to be talking about them as a tracker here in a little bit. But what they do is they take blood, all right? So you go in for a really quick blood test. It usually takes about 15 minutes, and then they give you a correlation based off of the information they gathered from your blood as to like what foods you should be eating, what you shouldn't be eating, what supplements you should be taking in order to improve those particular blood markers. Now, the reason that I'm such a huge advocate of this is because you don't know exactly what you should be doing, even just by testing things and thinking that you're doing the right thing. So a few years ago, before I started using Inside Tracker, I was eating a whole bunch of red meat, and I thought it was great. I thought I felt great. I thought everything was going good. I was getting gains in the gym. But what happened was, after doing the test, I figured that I was actually poisoning myself by eating so much red meat. My ferritin levels, or my stored iron levels, were through the roof because of it. And what happened is that when I took the red meat out of my diet, even though it was great red meat, it was all grass-fed, grass-finished red meat. When I took it out, my energy level skyrocketed up. I didn't realize that I didn't have all of the energy that I really could. And you just can't figure those things out for yourself unless you're actually testing something like this. So energy level skyrocketed. I actually dropped about 10 pounds of body fat in the first month. So it was pretty amazing how I leaned up that quickly by making pretty much just that one change. And actually I put more carbohydrates into my diet. So go figure that out. But you don't know what you don't know unless you're testing it. So Inside Tracker is great for that. You can go to my personal page at Inside Tracker by going to insidetracker.com/allaroundjoe, or you can just go to Inside Tracker and use the code allaroundjoe and get yourself a discount. So I highly recommend doing that. I get the ultimate package. I do it every 3 to 6 months, and I feel like it's something that you cannot get from your regular healthcare provider. So I recommend that everybody does it. Everybody. I recommend it for everybody. Okay. So the next company that I want to mention here, and I want to give a disclaimer, I have not used this company. All right. I have talked with I think it's their CEO or the person that's behind the idea for this company, Sam Smith, with Recover Mattress. Okay, the reason that I'm promoting them is because I think it's such a good deal and it's such a great mattress that I would totally be using right now if I wasn't living in a van. So as you can see, I'm sitting here in the van. I am outside of Lawson National Park right now recording this podcast for you, and I don't have a need for the mattress, okay? So as soon as I get out of the van, I will definitely have a Recover mattress. I really believe in what Sam is doing, and I want to give you guys a discount because it's such a good discount that I think that it's important that I actually give it to you so that you can get one of their mattresses. They offer 50% off if you go to recovermattress.com and use the code allaroundjoe, and I believe it has to be all caps. So go to recovermattress.com, use the code allaroundjoe. They make mattresses for athletes, which is freaking awesome. And if you haven't done so already, you should listen to the podcast that I did with Sam Smith. It is, let me see, it is allaroundjoe.com/144. Go to allaroundjoe.com/144 in order to get to that podcast with Sam Smith. And where he basically digs into why you should be having a specific type of mattress, how you should be setting up your room, all of this fun stuff. So highly recommend it. Go to recovermattress.com and use the code allaroundjoe, all caps, get yourself 50% off. It's a super deal. So I highly recommend checking that out. And now let's get back into the content here. So real quick, if you guys want to follow along with what I'm doing right now, I am testing Perfect Keto, all right, and with them as well, you can use the code allaroundjoe and get yourself 15% off. It's a pretty good discount. Perfect Keto help you to have more energy, basically flush yourself into ketosis immediately. And I'm taking their pre-workout shake right here because I'm going to do a little bit of workout after it. Has some really cool stuff in it, ketones, a little bit of caffeine, actually has some creatine, and I believe beta-alanine in there as well. I'll have to double check. But like I said, right now I'm testing. I'm in the testing phase, so if you want to test along with me, and I'm going to interview them in a few weeks from now so that we can all get the download on the information. But go to perfectketo.com and use the code allaroundjoe to get yourself 15% off. All right, back to the show. How to track, or tracking everything, why you should be tracking it. Like I said, I have totally been programming myself to think about what I'm putting into my body or what I'm doing and how it's going to affect me right now or, a day, a week, a month out from now. And I think that it's been a huge advantage to me continuing to make gains and have growth in my life and in my fitness and all that. So I think that you should definitely get in on this train, and it's only going to get more and more crazy as we go. I mean, you've all heard me talk about the whoop strap before that I have on. We're going to get into that a little bit later. But there's all kinds of different tracking things and how in the future they're going to correlate all of these blood, dietary, activity, and they're all going to come together. So we need to do the best that we can right now in order to make the best decisions that we can so that we can have the best results in the future. And what we need to become is more informed. All right, I feel like the example I gave earlier of the person sitting in the McDonald's drive-through line going to get the quarter pounder with cheese, they're just not. A lot of these people aren't informed. It's like they know that a quarter pounder with cheese isn't good for them, but they haven't been, given the information that they should have in order to say, all right, I know if I eat this quarter pounder with cheese right now, it's going to do X to my body, which is either good or bad. I'm not saying, in most cases that quarter pounder with cheese is probably not going to be very good for you, but there are certain circumstances where your body needs to be flushed with extra calories, and that could be something that you might choose to eat. Probably not, but you should be informed in order to make that decision and make a good decision. I feel like so many people right now are not making decisions. They're just kind of going with the flow, and that is hurting them badly. So you need to practice making decisions, and you need to practice making the right decisions for you that are informed with the best information that you can possibly get. So that's why we're doing a lot of this tracking stuff. Also, something that we have to think about when we're going to be tracking is, what are your goals for doing this tracking? All right. If you don't necessarily have your goals set up, then it can feel like you're not really doing it for any reason. So some common goals would be like, all right, most people need to lose body fat, unfortunately, but like 75% of our population needs to lose body fat. So if your goal is to lose body fat, or to have six-pack abs, or to lose 15 pounds, or lose 20 pounds, or have an ideal goal body weight of 180 or 130 or whatever it may be, that's the place to start. So if you have a goal for what you're trying to accomplish, then tracking all of this stuff makes it that much easier. Or, making it into the CrossFit Games, making it CrossFit Regionals, doing well at a lifting meet, doing a triathlon, an Ironman, an ultramarathon, a marathon, half marathon, whatever it may be, being able to run for a mile. Having those goals set up are going to be really important to moving forward with the tracking, because otherwise you're just going to stop doing it because you don't really have any reason for doing it. So I'd start off with setting your goals. And if you need help with goal setting, I've done a very extensive podcast on it. You go to allaroundjoe.com/117. That's allaroundjoe.com/117 to get basically my whole deal on how I set up my goals and how you can set them up really easily yourself as well. All right, so make sure your goals are defined before you get started here, and then next we're going to get into the actual apps and things that I'm using right now in order to track more things and get better results. So got my goals set up, now I'm going to go track. The first thing that I use is a note-taking device, and you might be rolling your eyes here, but this is super important. It's the most used app actually on my phone and my devices, okay, is a note-taking device. Now, we've all heard that it's important to journal, and journaling can be beneficial for you, and this is kind of going down that road. So I recommend that you get yourself a good note-taking device that you're going to frequently use whenever you have ideas or thoughts or, tracking things like we're going to do here. Have a good note-taking device. You can use Evernote, which is the one that I use. I've just used it for years. I think it's great. It has all of these features that I really like. You could use OneNote. You could use the Notes app on your iPhone or your Android or whatever it comes with. It just has to be something that syncs across all of your devices, so you can pick it up. You can have it there. It needs to be able to put all kind of information into, so that you can track those things, so that you can have it at your fingertips, and it needs to be very searchable. So if you put something in there, you need to be able to search it and find what you're looking for really quickly. That's going to be very important, and just Evernote does all those things really well for me. What I use with the Evernote is I track all of my workouts with Evernote. People might be like, well, why aren't you using some crazy app that's just specifically for that? Because Evernote does a fantastic job. I have it set to my favorites. I can go through, I can do a quick search. I can put all kinds of interesting information along with a workout. So let's say that I did Fran, I can put notes next to it. I can say, well, when I did Fran and I hit my new PR, this is what I did in order to do that, or how I was feeling that particular day, or I was a little bit off and I put that time down and I record the time and what I was doing or feeling in that particular situation, or put notes for the next time that I'm going to do this particular workout. And I also make sure and put all of my workout weights in there as well. As somebody like myself whose goals are to increasingly get stronger in CrossFit workouts as well as weight training workouts, it's important for me to have all of that information there. And I just use this note-taking app in order to do it. And I think that it is beneficial because a lot of the other apps that I've used, number one, I've seen them disappear before, and Evernote's not going to disappear. And I've seen them not have all of the information or ability to add information that I want. Okay, so it's a little bit general, I understand, but that's what I use it for. I also use it for, like I said earlier, some journaling stuff. So I make sure, and there's things like the daily journal where you go and you write down, things that I really enjoyed, things that you didn't enjoy. Sorry, a butterfly just flew into the van here, and flew right back out. Oh, and back in again. Ugh. So anyway, you can use the journaling features so that you can track just how you're feeling, like the emotional side of things, which is very important as well. And I do recommend that you use that. So doing a daily tracking thing, just get up for 5 minutes in the morning, put it into your morning routine. Hey, I felt this way right now, I felt this way yesterday, and then you look for patterns there. That's the biggest thing, is just going in there, writing down. It could be just a few sentences of things that you like, things that you didn't like, and then things you want to change, and then the patterns, so that you can see, is this showing up more that I would like it to? How can I actually make a difference by consciously seeing when that thing is happening and then making that change. So that's what I would use it for. All right, next up, we've got the number one weight loss tracking tool that we're going to talk about right now. Can you guess what it is? I've talked about it a lot on the podcast here. It is the Myfitnesspal app. Okay, now the Myfitnesspal app, I want to kind of step back here. It tracks a lot of different things, but for this purpose and for what I use it for is just for the food or the nutrition tracking component. I don't really like the other components of it, all right? And I'll get into that a little bit. First of all, the workout component gives you two options, weights or cardio. And if you guys have gotten at all involved in the fitness revolution that we've had in the last 10 years or so, you know that they're not different things and they shouldn't necessarily be taken apart. So the way that they put together that tracking is kind of funky. I think that Under Armour has a lot of work to do on that app, but they still have the gold standard for the nutrition tracking because they have got the biggest database of anybody out there. Now, if someone else comes up, I believe that they will knock MyFitnessPal right off the throne because you can do it with a better interface, you can do it with better reminders, better tracking options, all of that stuff. All we really need is a database that works really well, it's super easy, that has all of the foods that we could possibly ever eat, and then the ability to add them quickly in there, like as in the form of, well, yeah, I'm going to eat this recipe, or I'm going to eat this combination of foods together, or even just a particular food that you're making yourself or that hasn't been entered in there. So like, let's say that I go to the poke place that's down the street and I ask them exactly how much of certain things that they put in there. I want to be able to put, hey, I went to 45th Street Stop and Shop Poke and I got the 3-fish bowl with these particular things, and this is exactly what's in it. I want to be able to enter that in so that you can use user-entered data, and then you could have other people go and verify whether or not they thought that was correct or not, so that you could have these peer-reviewed awesome information, right? So that's what some of the things that they need to be doing. But for MyFitnessPal's purposes, it works really great for setting up your macronutrient goals and your calorie goals, and then they have a great amount of information so that you can go and you can just scan barcodes. It's super easy. You can enter in the information for the food on the go. Once you get good at it, it only takes about 3 to 5 minutes a day in order to add all this information in, and then you know how many calories you're eating, how much protein, how much fat, how much carbohydrates you're getting every single day, and then what the percentages are of those macronutrients. Just starting with that, you need to be tracking it because you want to know exactly what you're doing. Even before you set up your goals for how you're going to be doing that, you just need to know what it looks like. And that is the number one way of monitoring your body fat percentage, whether you need to lose a lot of body fat or whether you need to gain muscle or you want six-pack abs or whatever. Tracking your nutrition with MyFitnessPal is the number one way to do it because you'll start to see particular patterns. You'll know, all right, if I have an option and I choose to eat, those potato chips or that bag of Cheetos over, a bag of sweet potatoes, or sweet potato fries or sweet potato chips, I can see those patterns, and I can see that it's going to make a difference in my calorie profiles and my macronutrient profiles. Or if I decide to have the candy, I can see that the sugar score is going to be different than if I decide to, have, even like bread, even though we could talk about how those things are different. Or if I decide to have a handful of nuts instead of a handful of Skittles, the nutrient profile is going to be so much different, and you'll see the differences once you start tracking it just right there in front of you. So that's where I would go with that. If you want to set yourself up for success here, though, after doing this for 1 to 4 weeks, I recommend just doing it for 1 to 4 weeks because you can get into a habit of it. Hopefully closer to the 4 weeks. But then what happens is I want you to continue doing it. So not just 1 to 4 weeks period, but in 1 to 4 weeks of just tracking it and looking at it, then I want you to start to set up some goals for yourself. Now you can do that or you can figure out how to do that, or how I help my people all over the world that I work with as a nutrition coach or as a fitness online coaching program at allaroundjoe.com/88. So I just laid it all out there in that podcast. And if you have any questions, let me know. But allaroundjoe.com/88 will help you to set up those particular goals. But I think it's so important to just get in the habit and look at what you see with those particular eating habits that you have already, and then we can start to manipulate them with the podcast at allaroundjoe.com/88. So go with that, and then let me know if you have any questions. Next up, we're going to talk about water. Now, MyFitnessPal tracks water, which is awesome. Very cool. But it doesn't let you set up goals, which is why I think this next app or tracking device is super important. It's just called Waterlogged. And I've talked about this a lot before on the podcast as well. It's like $2. Pay for the paid version because it lets you set up timed notifications so that you know if you're not hitting your goals. There's all these other variables that you can put in there as well. And it links up with MyFitnessPal. So if you're trying to keep your food intake and your water intake, which are basically the same thing, in the same app, it will do that as well. Just the waterlogged app will pop up there, and in 2 clicks you can say, I drank my 32 ounces of water, and then it will tell you, how much more you have to go, and it's just very easy and informative, way more so than the MyFitnessPal, which you don't really know how you're doing unless you're a nerd like I am and you have all of these goals that are, burned into your head. I don't want you to have to do that. I want to make it much easier for you. So use the MyFitnessPal in order to track the food. You use the Waterlog in order to track the water. Just pay $2. It's super easy. The MyFitnessPal you don't actually need to pay for. There is a paid version, but I've never paid for it. You can see what your macronutrients look like per meal, which would be pretty interesting. But I don't think that's quite as powerful as just setting up, an intermittent fasting window that you're going to use, and that's on another podcast. Go search for intermittent fasting at allaroundjoe.com, or let me know where to look for that if you want more information on intermittent fasting. But right now we're just talking about tracking everything. All right. Intermittent fasting, though, what I would do in order to track that or to set myself up for success is I would just put an eating window into my calendar. So 8 hours of eating, or you're going to do 14 to 16 hours of fasting, and then the smaller window of eating in your calendar, so you know when you should start eating, when you should stop eating. That would be a way of tracking that, although it's not really tracking, it's more like planning. So that's why I didn't necessarily put it on my list here. But next up, activity trackers. All right, so like I said, Whoop is the #1 activity tracker that I use right now. I'm actually not affiliated with them right now, which is sad. So if anybody from Whoop is listening to this, I would love to continue my affiliation with you, but they changed their offerings from a single buy your strap for a larger price to a membership model where you pay less, but you pay it every single month. When they did that, they took the code that I had to share away, and hopefully they will bring it back and we'll be able to continue pushing it. But I still recommend them. Whoop Strap, awesome. It's my #1 activity tracker at this point. What they're going to do is they track your heart rate variability, basically some form of movement, your sleep, and then they correlate that data with your previous data, essentially. So they have machine learning, and after a certain amount of time, they say only a couple of days, I think it's a little bit more accurate after a few weeks. Once you have some solid data in place, then you'll start to see a consistent or a reliable recovery score that they will give you, which is based off of all of the data that they have gathered. Like I said, the heart rate variability, and sleep scores, how well you're sleeping based off of some movement and other things. But what's going to happen then is they take the heart rate variability score at the last deep sleep cycle that you have, and then they take that, your resting heart rate as well, and they take those scores and they look at what you've done previously. So you're getting other tracking information, and all you have to do is wear it and sync it up and make sure that it's charged. So where it's different from the MyFitnessPal, where you have to enter stuff in, you have to do work. This one, you just have to pay for it and you put it on, and then you don't have to do the work. It does it for you as long as you keep the batteries charged and you sync it up via Bluetooth with your phone's app. But it really gives you interesting information. Like I had said earlier, what I would love for these guys to do is either to have Whoop come out with a food database tracking system so that they could have those correlations between food and recovery, or to have them collaborate with Myfitnesspal so that you can get that information to work together. Right now, they're in these data battles where nobody wants to share their data, which is stupid. I mean, I get it. I'm not sure what I would do if I owned the company, but from a consumer, it's stupid because if they would share their data, then I could have all this super interesting information about how if I had, sweet potatoes last night, was that going to potentially positively or negatively affect my recovery score the next day? Right now, with these particular apps, if you're tracking them, you can come up with great information and conclusions for, like, let's say 24 hours. So I know that, let's say I went and had a cheat day and I had a whole bunch of donuts yesterday. I could say, all right, my recovery score was good today, so maybe donuts helped me in this particular situation. But if I could log in more information on there, I don't know that if those donuts are actually going to hurt me 2, 3, 4 days down the road. So maybe, the third day after I have 4 donuts, that's when it hits me on my recovery score or my HRV or my resting heart rate or whatnot. That's the information that becomes really interesting, that I, even being a data nerd myself, I can't look and see what that data is and remember, all right, that is a correlation from 3 days ago, 4 days ago, 2 days ago, whatever it may be. But if we had it all entered into some sort of background spreadsheet and these things work together on an app, we could see those particular data points. It could say, all right, the last 4 times that you had, donuts, the third day after that, your recovery score, your HRV, or your resting heart rate, or your sleep, whatever it may be, is down in the dumps. Or, you had sweet potatoes and it went up. So you have all these information, all these interesting pieces of information that could work together, and I hope that we're going in that direction. All right, I really hope. I think that we are, and either at some point one of these companies is going to, become the huge giant in the room and take over all of that, or they're going to start working together and figure out how to be best at what you do in particular, and then share that data so that you can have the correlation so that we can get better results. All right, so that's the downside to Whoop, is that they don't allow you to correlate that data unless you want to do like my friends Tyler and Jen do, and they take that data and they put it into a spreadsheet or some sort of Tableau, workflow, however that works, I don't understand, and enter the information in daily and see if you can figure out what those certain patterns are. But it'd be super nice if it was just in an app. We didn't have to geek out on the actual data side of it quite so much. All right, if I'm looking around here, if you're watching this video, you're listening to it, and you hear these delays, it's because there is still a butterfly flying around in the van here, trying to figure out how to get out. So I'm not going to stop the podcast and try and get it out. I'm just going to let it hang out. If it wants to say something on the podcast, it is totally allowed to do that. So anyway, the next thing that I highly recommend tracking is the blood testing component. And I told you earlier with Inside Tracker, this is what I was going to talk about a little bit. So I feel like getting into this a little bit deeper is definitely a beneficial thing. Unfortunately, our general practitioners don't usually get down this road. They'll do blood testing and they'll give you drugs, but they don't have any nutrition training, which is super sad. They should all have, just as much nutrition training as the nutritionists do or the RDs do, so that they can at least, or work with them so that they're in the same room. I don't believe that any doctor should be prescribing any drugs unless it's an acute problem that needs to be addressed right away, without having a RD in the room there. And even the RDs, man, I'm sorry RDs, but you've got some bad information if you haven't been staying up to date lately, because I went through a lot of the same schooling as the RDs did, and it was crap information. So I hope that you've been staying up to date and, working on that, because there's a lot of cool stuff that's come out since then, and you're, hopefully not giving prescriptions based off of old data. So I believe that the doctors and RDs should work together, and we have companies like Inside Tracker where we can take our health into our own hands, which I actually feel like in a lot of situations is better off. Ideally, you take your Inside Tracker information to your doctor and be like, hey, this is what I've got, and then he can give you his super knowledge from his perspective as well, rather than for him to try and think that he's God and give you perspective that he doesn't actually know about, but he's a doctor, so he's good at making decisions. All right. So with Inside Tracker, I've been using it for the last 2 years, and what it's done is it showed me things that I couldn't have figured out before on my own. It's a super easy test. You go out and you buy a package. I usually get I've always gotten the ultimate package with the AAJ, and then you go and you take 15 minutes at a local blood testing facility, and then 5 days later, or 3 to 5 days later, you get your Inside Tracker results, and it tells you the things that you should be eating, you shouldn't be eating, the supplements you should be taking, the lifestyle changes that you should be making based off of data that they've pulled from journals. All right, so they go and they scour the journals, and they make these, look for correlations. Say, high cholesterol has been related to eating this particular type of food or taking this supplement, or on the other side, has been shown to be helped if you have these particular types of foods that you're ingesting. So it says, all right, this blood marker is here. We have this information for eating this type of food to improve that blood marker. This is how many times per week or per day you should be having that particular food in order to do it. It is super cool and information that I believe everybody should be getting in on. Then you take that information and you add it in with the tracking of Myfitnesspal, and you know that you can see the differences in how your blood markers are actually improving. You're tracking then your calories, your macronutrients, and you're getting these things to work all together. But you don't know unless you don't test. So I highly recommend that everybody sign up for Inside Tracker. Like I said, you can use the code AllAroundJoe if you want to do that, and I do recommend that you do that. If you have some other blood testing company, totally cool as well. I just believe the Inside Tracker is the best one out there at this particular point, in order to give you real information that you can take action on right now. Like if you go and get your blood test today, next week you'll get the information back, and then you'll be able to say, hey, I need to start eating less meat, more oatmeal, I need to do intermittent fasting, I need to try and have these particular fats, or these this type of fish, in order to improve my blood scores. It's super cool. You'll start to feel more energy. You'll probably be leaner. All of this stuff that you couldn't have figured out just by thinking about, I should have this food, makes me feel this way. We can't really figure that out. I'm the guy that tries to figure it out. We can't figure it out. So what we need to do is take the information that we have, and with those tracking devices. All right, so we have note taking, we have Myfitnesspal, we have the water tracking app, we have Inside Tracker, we have the Whoop strap. We take all of that information. Oh, also one that I didn't mention is the Garmin. I'm going to be testing some Garmin watches here pretty soon. They have some really interesting stuff that you could track as well. I know that my girlfriend does it, and she's been using them long enough, and I've been able to see the app and the information that they track, that I want to get in on that as well, because there's certain goals that you can set up, certain fitness things, so you can see the distance you're covering each day, or if you go out on a run. It's really interesting stuff. So Garmin as well has done a great job of their watches and other devices helping you to track. I'll have more information on that as I get my Garmin watch here in the next few weeks, so that I can give you more information on tracking with that. But their app is really cool and shows some interesting information that you can use alongside something like a Whoop, which is such a bummer that they couldn't work together in order to get some of the Whoop information or the Whoop tracking into the Garmin, so that you don't have to have two particular devices on all the time in order to get that information, when it could be done just with one if they would work together. All right, so right now what we have to do is we've got to put it all together, right? Unfortunately, there's not one particular app that does all of that really well. I hope, like I said, that either that comes out, or that these people start to work together, so that we can see the correlative data and get better results faster. Because a lot of us are not going to take the amount of time that I'm going to take to try and figure out what those particular things are, but even using each individual thing will help you to make improvements. So I'm not saying don't do these things because it's going to be confusing to do all of them. I'm saying do all of them if you can, or pick one that you think would be the most beneficial for you, and then make the improvements based off of the information that you get from that particular app or hardware or process that you're going to be using. All right. Right now, we just try and put it together. what we do there. We do our best. You could take Myfitnesspal. You could see how your weight and was changing based off of the foods and the manipulations that you have, and keep track of that data in an Evernote file, and then look at your recovery scores as well based off of the different types of calories or macronutrients that you hit, and you can start going from there, or you can put into an Excel spreadsheet. It would all be beneficial. I think that anybody who wants to live longer, live healthier, think better, feel better, should be doing these things. All right? It's super easy. It's inexpensive. We can all benefit from it. All right? Whether you're the person that wants to have the six-pack abs, you just want to lose a few pounds so that you can feel better, look better in your clothes, or if you want to be the CrossFit Games athlete, Ironman, whatever it may be, these particular tools are going to help you to get to where you want to go faster. All right? I can definitely tell you that it will help you to make better decisions, more informed decisions, coming full circle here, on what you're doing. All right? So when you pull into that McDonald's drive-thru, you can say, all right, I know that the quarter pounder with cheese is not going to be in line with my goal based off of the tracking that I've done before and seeing how that makes my body feel and recover. So I'm going to get the salad with the dressing on the side, and I'm going to have that instead. Or I'm going to just back out of that driveway and piss a whole bunch of people off, but I'm going to make the decision to do it. Or maybe you just stay in the drive-thru and then you just don't order anything. And then you go someplace else to a Chipotle or something, someplace that you know is you're going to be able to get something that's going to be more aligned with your goals. You're going to make that decision. You're not going to put your head in the sand and just say that I decided to have the McDonald's quarter pounder cheese because I didn't know any better. It's sad that our schooling system doesn't teach us these things so that we can know them, but that's why I have podcasts. That's why I have this podcast, so I can inform you based off of the results that I've come up with, these, schooling, university that I have gone through in order to figure it out, and share it with you so that you can actually start to get the results as well, get the six-pack abs, do the Ironmans, be a competitive CrossFitter, whatever that may be. So make better decisions about your health and fitness by tracking everything. Let me know if you have any questions. I'm here to help. If there's anything that you want me to test because you think it would be cool for me to have that information as well, I really, really want to hear about it. Please put it in the show notes at allaroundyu.com/146. I also have some free giveaways on my website. Just go to allaroundyu.com. You can get free giveaways, such as the top 5 supplements I can't live without, and all kinds of other stuff. And if you guys like this podcast, I really, really appreciate it when you give me a review on iTunes. In fact, if you give me a review on iTunes, let me know. I might have something special for you that I can send you in the mail. It is super helpful to help me get my voice out there to more people, to help more people, and to help us be a healthier population, human beings, all of that fun stuff. So thank you guys. Get out there, get some stuff done, give me a review. Totally would appreciate it. The All Around Joe podcast, where we optimize your human performance from my personal experience as an athlete, coach, and all-around self-improvement junkie. I will see you on the next podcast.